everybody and welcome back to the Helix. Today on the Helix, we'll be breaking down Standard. So, let's get started. Common Standard has been one of the most interesting that we've had in a while. One of the most defining decks in the format is Abs in Midrange. Abs in Midrange has a diverse selection of threats, including the most popular Siege right now. But the threats that are hardest to deal with are really its Planeswalkers, which are very hard to get less than 2 for $1. But outside of these sometimes sparse threats, the deck has very little late game to speak of. Jeskai has really epitomized the diversity of this format. Jeskai comes in many flavors, including control, combo in the form of Ascendancy, and even aggro, using Jeskai tokens, which still makes good use of Ascendancy itself. Traditional Jeskai aggro and control decks use burn as their defining linchpin. The ability to get in the game with some efficient creatures and then finish it off with some punishing burn is why this deck is hard to interact with compared to the other aggro decks. Jeskai Ascendancy features a blisteringly fast combo that can kill you as early as turn 3, and is something to be very aware of. And even if the resources to kill you as early as this turn 3 aren't immediately available, the rest of the deck is to ensure consistency. Jeskai tokens, really a match between Ascendancy, control, and aggro, features a peculiar role in the format as a quote-unquote MAC, mid-range aggro control deck, that can go very wide with its threats and then pump them up with Ascendancy. Ascendancy itself can do quite a bit of filtering, and it can really feed a card like Treasure Cruise. The deck even narrows down to red-white tokens, taking out the Treasure Cruise and the Ascendancy to have a more diverse role of threats. A deck that goes similarly wide is Boss Slide. Boss Slide uses all 1-drops basically, with the exception of Stoke the Flames and some other cheap removal, in order to put immediate pressure on your opponents, hopefully making up for the fact that you have no late game whatsoever. And really the game plan is if they stabilize, then you have burn to kill them. Green-black Constellations and Sidisi Whip, combinations of each other just like red-white tokens and Jeskai tokens, build massive card advantage towers to where hopefully they can just topple over any deck they face, which works extremely well with cards like Whip of Erebos, which allows you to stabilize from really any situation. Blue-black Control is a very interesting deck in the format, as it really has no commitment to the field. Really what that amounts to is during the game, you have no way to lose tempo against other decks, feature removal. Where the deck deceivingly shines is against aggro decks, which have no way to keep up with its card advantage, which can still be quite a soft plan as you're running 27 lands, and the average opponent is running around 23, making your chances of blinking far more likely. Blue-white Control features a similar role, but I find its removal is far less malleable. The deck has a niche in the form of inhostilities, but I find this way too narrow for most strategies. These control decks are very good at wiping out top-heavy decks that do not make a lot of card advantage. Green-red monsters, while featuring a promising late game in the form of Claw, has few ways to secure actual resources. Timber monsters, on the other hand, allows you to protect the resources you do have. Prominently featuring Stubborn Denial, the deck switches its odds against heavy control decks and whip decks. A deck that is surprisingly well-rounded is Blue-White Heroic. Blue-White Heroic can go quite wide with a diversity of little small threats, but it can also build up a large threat that it can gain card advantage off of, and also protect. As a direct response to Abs in Midrange, Mardu Midrange basically features the most powerful removal in the format. Featuring a mix of Crackling Doom, Chain to the Rocks, and Hero's Downfall, this deck contends with control decks for removal space. However, the rest of this deck is filled with threats that can easily kill you in a couple turns. So, that's Standard right now. It's more diverse than it has been in many years, and it's quite refreshing. This is one of my favorite Standard environments we've had in a quite long time. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, Jesus loves you.